and welcome to Money Matters. Hong Kong was host to a number of art shows last month, including Art Basel. Zella Chin reports on the rebound in sales in the global art market and finds out if collectors have embraced digital art in the long term, or will it fade as just a passing fad of the pandemic?
A very tall statue reaching for the sky. Blue and pink sculptures light up the wall. Embroidered fish reminiscent of the goldfish market in Mongkok. And lots of art lovers. These people just arrived at the convention center.
It's actually a wonderful, beautiful, creative opportunity to see art.
I find it out very interesting fair. It's a lot of latest arts, including the NFT, a lot of abstract art.
The art fair was cancelled in 2020 when COVID hit. But the fair and the art world bounced back in 2021.
In 2020, the first year of the pandemic, the global art market had its worst sales in 10 years. But art sales rebounded in 2021. Greater China sales grew by 35% to $13.4 billion US, propelling the market to second place ahead of the United Kingdom.
Adeline Uy is the Asia director of Art Basel. She says the fair has changed compared to a few years ago.
Pre-pandemic days, we were a two-floor show, 250 of the galleries in the past. Here today it's 130 galleries, but I think apart from the size, the nature and the spirit of the show hasn't changed. For us, the show is important because it brings galleries with collectors. It also introduces new audience to art.
The art fair highlighted local artists. This gallery is selling works made by a Hong Kong street artist, the King of Kowloon. Willie Zhong owns this collection.
What is this featured piece here?
Oh, okay. You have a very sharp eye to recognize this special work. So normally you know most of the work the Kings did in the public space. But besides the public space, this one is using one of the vintage Hong Kong map. And especially everyone will call him King of Kowloon or Kowloon King. And this map is coincidentally about the Kowloon shape and the Hong Kong island.
Yes, I see Kowloon jetty.
Yeah.
So what is he writing about?
Most important thing for this work is New China.
What is he saying about the New China?
Yeah, the New China, is talking about 1949, our New China established.
So are people buying these pieces? Are people interested in this piece?
Yeah, the first day is already collected by one of the collectors.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's no longer available.
This piece was sold for 490,000 Hong Kong dollars. He showcased about 30 works ranging from 100,000 Hong Kong dollars to 700,000 Hong Kong dollars.
For the past 3 days, actually it's more than 50% is already sold out.
He says the customers are 70% local Hong Kongers, age 40 and younger.
They will talk about their personal memories. They will tell us they have the experience to show him to do the graffiti in Kowloon City or even though in Boundary Street.
With every purchase, he's giving away a free NFT. A non-fungible token is a digital asset made with the same technology as cryptocurrencies. Willie's created 50 NFTs. Each one is worth 0.3 Ether, or about $300 US.
We put all the 50 NFT into one of the global NFT platform, such as like this. Inside is all the exhibit in Art Basel.
Willie wants to develop a market for the digital assets.
NFT is quite new in the market, especially in Asia and Hong Kong. So traditional physical collector, they would like to know more about NFT, but not willing to using the real money to buy the NFT in this moment.
Sales of art-related NFTs grew over 100-fold in 2021 year on year. reaching $2.6 billion.
Art fairs are places to make deals in person. But many overseas visitors couldn't come to Hong Kong because of the travel restrictions. So this is the second year Art Basel created a hybrid digital show with virtual tours and satellite booths.
Welcome to Tina King Gallery.
This Taiwanese gallery hired locals like Alan here to staff its booth at the fair. Shelley Wu, the artistic director, is based in Taipei.
Okay, so the local staffs, what they do is that they mainly help us introduce the works. If there are people who wanting to buy, purchase, acquire the work, then they would pass it on to us and we would follow up with the collector.
The customer then communicates with Shelley through social media about transferring payment and delivery of the art piece. Because of COVID-19 health concerns, the Taiwanese gallery staff didn't attend the fair in person.
Hello, Shirley.
Hi.
Hi, Ellen.
They spent a month training the booth assistants to represent the gallery.
We do a lot of pre-fair meetings, which to brief them about our art gallery and make sure that they are able to introduce our brand and also the artists, the concept behind the works and everything on site.
Shelley says the satellite booth has exceeded her expectations. They sold 10 artworks at the fair, ranging from $6,000 to $100,000.
We did pretty well this year. We sold nearly 80% of the works on site, and we also sold works from the gallery, meaning from Taipei, because they might see one piece of work and they really like the artist, and they would ask about, are there other works that you didn't bring to Hong Kong this year? And then we would present them, via, social networks.
Before the pandemic, Shelley used to send a team of 4 staff to the overseas art shows. Because of the satellite booth experience, she plans to change her strategy going forward.
We can probably cost down or lower down to maybe 2 staff from Taiwan, and then we will still seek for 1 to 2 local assistants. They would know more about the local market and they will know more about the local collectors and the local art scene. So in a way, they actually do help us, to get to know more within a short, limited period of time.
So this is actually our first time showcasing Catherine Bernhardt.
Leo Xu also had to pivot his gallery business to survive and thrive during the pandemic.
At the very beginning, I would say the art world is very much affected by the travel restriction because it's brick-mortar business, right? But now people are more used to, look at art, selecting work over, their phone, over those PDF. So people are being more open-minded.
The gallery introduced new digital initiatives, including an online viewing room or virtual art exhibition.
We are very much encouraged by our Asian clients to launch this social media-based online viewing rooms. On those new platforms, we are able to introduce the artwork, artists in full details, in depth. It's a good addition to the physical booth, so they have, the online, offline experience. Yeah, in this room, we are presenting a new art, Nate Lohman. This is a very particular painting, depicts the fourth color weather rendering.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like a hurricane.
It is.
It is?
It is the most, notorious hurricane Sandy that hit New York many years ago.
Oh, wow. And what is he trying to communicate with this?
He's trying to show us, the power of nature, but also bring us to a close examination of those natural crises, same as, the pandemic that we've been through.
So how much does this one sell for?
This one is $350,000 US.
And has anybody bought it yet? Or is it still available?
We are in multiple conversations with various collectors from Hong Kong and the US.
He sold about 10 art pieces, ranging from $200,000 to $400,000.
Some of the clients, they haven't been able to see the works in person because they make decisions over, our social media platforms or over the PDF preview. But some of them, they are lucky ones. They are here. They were able to see the works that they're purchasing.
While the pandemic forced the galleries to embrace online opportunities, Leo thinks the possibilities are limitless.
The art world is bigger than ever. There are so many, clients, customers living in different places, and they're active online. I feel, those online initiatives actually enabled us to build connections with people around the world. And when you have, conversations and aided by the physical booths, I feel people actually find good opportunity to learn more about artists.
When Money Matters returns, how Hong Kong will reach carbon neutrality by increasing the use of renewable energy. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. Hong Kong pledged to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. That means coal-generated power has to be phased out and renewable energy increased. CLP says wind energy is one of the ways the city can decarbonize electricity. Alice Kahn reports that wind farms out at sea have been planned for years but come at a huge cost.
Hong Kong's two power companies produce all of the city's power mostly by burning coal and natural gas, a cheap way to light up the SAR. The trouble is, coal produces carbon, a greenhouse gas. In 2019, 66% of Hong Kong's carbon emissions came from generating electricity. That puts the government in a tight spot since it has promised to make Hong Kong carbon neutral by 2050. Achieving this goal means producing power without emissions. Back in 2006, Hong Kong Electric planned to construct a 100-megawatt offshore wind farm southwest of Lamma Island, while CLP considered a 200-megawatt facility in the southeastern waters of Hong Kong. But both shelved these plans as unviable after considering the enormous costs. Recently, they said they'd reconsider the development of wind farms and would include them in their development plans for 2024 to 2028. CLP's Chang Tung Keung says the technology has advanced in the last few years, making wind farms much more viable.
At that time, the wind turbine size is about 3 to 5 megawatt. But nowadays, we are talking about 10 to 15 megawatt, which is a few times more. At that time, I think the overall scale is about 200 megawatt for that offshore wind farm. So the number of wind turbines is more than 60. But nowadays, if we have larger size, maybe we can only have like 20-something or even less than 20 wind turbines. And the total capacity, we have just also did a bit of a revision. It could go up to 250 megawatts. It would be around 2% of the requirement for Hong Kong.
Modern wind turbines are taller as well.
We take the really big size of wind turbine, like 12 megawatt or even larger. The height will be more than 200 meters. So if you look at the skyscrapers in Hong Kong, maybe it would be like half of the height of ICC.
Hong Kong Electric also announced a 600-hectare wind farm consisting of between 13 and 19 turbines, providing 150 megawatts of electricity each year, or about 4% of the firm's electricity output. That would cut the company's carbon footprint by 284,000 tons every year. A decade ago, the total cost for the two projects was estimated at $10 billion, enough to have an impact on customer electric bills. Catherine Chu is an offshore wind farm consultant. She says the investment cost dropped by 40 to 60% since 2009 due to the keen competition between wind energy suppliers. She estimates the current cost for the two proposed projects is just over $6 billion.
If we look at today's average figure in our neighboring projects, so that works out around 15,000 to 16,000 per kilowatt. If we take the 215 megawatt project, probably at today's neighboring sites, capex that would give us around 3.8 billion Hong Kong dollars. The other project at 150 megawatt, that would probably be around 2.34 billion Hong Kong dollars.
And Chang says electricity bills would not have to increase.
For this kind of investment, actually the investment will be spread, along across a very long period of time, because the asset life normally is more than 20 years. So the impact on tariff actually is not significant.
Chung King Man is a retired fisherman. He's a member of CLP's Stakeholder Liaison Group, advising the company about its wind farm site from a number of interested groups.
A huge windmill will be built on the ocean.
For electricity generation?
Yes.
This morning, Chung met another member of the group, environmentalist Yao Wing Kwong, at Sai Kung Pier. They're taking a boat out to have a look at CLP's wind farm site. Wind energy expert Vivian Liu is joining the group.
We are not far away from the wind farm.
It's about 5 kilometers away. Past this hill, go to East Nine Pin Island, the one with the pointed top that you can see the wind farm site.
Chung runs an eco-tourism company. He hopes CLP and the government can build some facilities to help Sai Kung tourism.
I asked them to put the man-made coral reef along the boundary of the wind farm. Wherever there's a coral reef, the fish, particularly grouper, would hide under the rocks. They would attract fish. So many fishermen will come to fish, and tourists will also fish in this area.
Yao, who was once an electrical engineer, has been in the liaison group since 2009.
I came in 2010, I think. At that time, we went to see the site where they were supposed to build a wind farm. We were excited because we will have the first wind farm in Hong Kong. 12 years ago, it's gone, and it's still a bare sea without wind farm. So, especially when we go abroad, so like Denmark, Norway, we see lots of wind farm, American, and actually when I fly back to Hong Kong, when I pass the mainland, you can see a lot of wind farm on the sea. So this is not something absolutely new. It's not rocket science. So people are building it everywhere. Why can't we?
In rough seas, the group cruises to Nine Pin Island. CLP's meteorological mast appears in the distance. It collects weather data, and it marks the site of the wind farm.
It is very windy and with very big waves, so the wind velocity, I think, it can approach 8 to 9 meters per second at the moment. So it's really suitable for the development of offshore wind power. Also, there's no commercial shipping, no fisheries, so no recreation and conservation.
Both projects still require the government's approval. Yao worries red tape will cause delays.
Some sort of soil investigation has to be done. So no matter what regulation is there, I think the government have to cooperate, and so that the construction can go ahead.
The quickest timeline is, I would expect 5 years from now, then we can see wind turbines coming up on the waters. And this is too slow. The government is not very decisive to develop zero carbon renewable energy.
The wind farms are being proposed to put Hong Kong on a path to diversify its power sources as part of the Climate Action Plan 2050. Currently, coal accounts for 24% of the city's fuel mix, and natural gas 48%. Renewables account for less than 1%. Nuclear power from mainland sources makes up the rest. The Climate Action Plan 2050 sets out the target of reducing total carbon emissions by 50% to 20 million tons by 2035 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2050. The two power companies will phase out coal by 2035 to be replaced by natural gas. The share of local renewable energy will be increased from less than 1% now to between 7.5 and 10% by 2035 and 15% by 2050. The aim is to generate 3.5 to 4% of electricity from wind, 3 to 4% from waste-to-energy incineration, and 1 to 2% from solar.
CLP's plan and also Hong Kong Electric's plan, they add up to only 2.5% at most of wind energy coming from. So it's actually they need to really explore expansion of the current plans.
Considering the development constraints of Hong Kong and also wind resources, so we say in fact in Hong Kong, almost 1/5 to 1/4 of water area can be used for the development of offshore wind power. So this figure can coming out the wind power can contribute to more than 40% of electricity consumption of Hong Kong.
CLP's Chang says he would expand wind farms, but not on a huge scale.
Whether there are other marine parks nearby or whether it is used for other purposes like dumping areas. So there are different kind of utilization. And in terms of wind resources, there are also some variation of wind resources, in the offshore area in Hong Kong.
Using solar power as part of the fuel mix makes less sense than wind power. Environmentalist William Yu says the scale of solar energy is not cost-effective.
The overall amount of energy being generated is still very limited. Maybe first we need to look at big infrastructure like a big warehouse. Hong Kong has many reservoirs. Like here, we might consider to have all these solar panels. After measuring the daylight intensity, then we could consider to make good use of those areas.
Importing more renewable energy may be an option. And natural gas is a stepping stone to a carbon-free fuel, green hydrogen. Chang says CLP would consider producing green hydrogen outside Hong Kong and feed it via a pipeline to Black Point Power Station and Castle Peak Power Station in future. But there are challenges.
One of the biggest issues actually is delivery, because delivering hydrogen is very costly still nowadays. And then the technology of using hydrogen right now, in particular, for example, for power generation, is being developed by the manufacturers. These development will be mature probably in the 2040s. If it appears that these kind of costs will go down, then we will be mature enough to have hydrogen.
Legislator Stephen Wong says the government should balance zero emission and costs.
When you ask them whether you want to have less carbon emission, the people will say yes, right? And if you explain to them that the cost will be increased by X percentage, they will say, oh, okay, reluctantly. But when people actually pay it, they feel the pain.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. Next time on Money Matters, how businesses are reacting to COVID clusters and a shortage of workers. See you then. Good night.